Hello everybody, I'm back to talk to you about record players or turntables. Now I have an example here, but I want to talk to you about how they first started and what they looked like. Some of you have heard about record players or seen pictures of turntables or record players in books or maybe even on TV programs. The first ones appeared around in the mid 1800s. Thomas Edison created a phonograph, and then Alexander Graham Bell also made improvements to that a little bit later and produced something called a graphophone. Now, people wanted to reproduce their own speech. They wanted to hear themselves talk. They also were using it later on in movies, and they also wanted to hear themselves play instruments. So here is, I'm going to show you a picture of Thomas Edison with his second phonograph, and you can see that it is actually a long tube, looks like a tube of metal called a cylinder, and you could wind it. You could wind it up, and you can see there's something like a little device, like a needle on it, a little piece of metal that would hit parts of the cylinder to make the sound. And then here is Thomas Edison's wax cylinder phonograph. This one, you can see the big bell on it was used to amplify the sound or make it louder. Okay. And then later, here's a phonograph. You can see that bell. It sort of looks like a big flower, and this one happens to be painted with flowers too. But you can see that big bell has a flower on it, but the box itself, over here you can see a little handle. They would wind it up. So you didn't have electricity, you didn't have to have it plugged in, but you had to wind it, and then it was able to spin a cylinder around to make sound. And then later on, as they made more improvements, see if I can play this one for you. Here's an early phonograph. Now those cylinders eventually became flat discs, and the flat discs that you may have seen before we called records growing up. When I was little, we had lots of records in different sizes. This is the largest size. We also had some smaller ones, but they came in these jackets or holders to protect them. And it usually had the title, and it was very artistic. Oh, let me move back here. And some of them opened up, and it gave you information about what you were going to hear. And inside there is what we call a sleeve. And it told you about all the other records that this company was putting out. And you can see the center of it. It shows you the label. And the label, there's a little hole in there, and you're going to see when I put the disc down, there's a pin that the disc drops down over. And usually people had to be very careful not to put their fingerprints or fingers on them, but here's an example. And you can see it has lines on it. Now those fatter, shinier lines in between, the skinnier, shiny lines in between these fat ones. The shiny ones would tell you that was in between a song or a track. And there are two sides to it. And in a minute, I'm going to put it down on my record player to show you. But here's another example of how colorful these cases were. And here's the back. This one only has a front and a back. It doesn't open up. Okay, and now I'm going to show you that eventually they became flat. Here's an example of a turntable that you might know. or may have seen. It's a more modern turntable or record player. And now I'm going to show you how it works and what it sounds like.